All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing the magnificent historical fiction novel Triumph of the Sun by Wilbur Smith. This is book number 4 in his Courtneys of Africa saga. And I say this whenever I review a Wilbur Smith novel. I am reading these books in chronological order, not the order in which they were published. Because a lot of people go on Amazon.com or different places and they say, Durfee, this is not book number 4 in the series. It's book number something else. Well, in the order in which Wilbur Smith wrote them, yeah, this might be book number 25 or something like that in the series. But chronologically, it's book number 4. Trust me. Don't fucking argue with me in the comments anymore about this. And not only that, but it's an awesome book. It's like it just gets better and better. You know, despite the fact that Wilbur Smith wrote these books out of chronological order, I mean, he just wrote, like, I'm going to write the Courtney family saga, like, I'm going to write about these people in 1970, and then write about, you know, it's scattered. Somehow he's kept it consistent. If you read them in chronological order, they all make sense. You can read them in publication order too. I mean, my God, most people, that's how they probably read them when they came out. Enough about that. Let's talk about the cover first. Well, let's talk about the cover second, because we already talked about other bullshit. Talk about the cover first. Love it. I love anytime they do sparkly gold foil stuff. They got the swords here. It's just bright and red. The inside of the book has several different maps of the middle of Africa, released up by the Egyptian peninsula and the Nile River and the Sudan and Khartoum and all that. So here's the thing, this book is about the Sudan and the Nile River. So I Googled these areas, Google mapped these areas, and I was fascinated by what I saw when I Google mapped. And I did the satellite view where you can like zoom in and see, like, and drive around on the streets and stuff. If you Google map the Nile River Valley from Alexandria all the way down, all the way up the Nile, clear into the middle of Egypt and Africa, and I mean, it just, what I saw blew my mind. This Nile River Valley is enormous, and it's got much farmland on it. It's desert everywhere. But then just this strip of farmland, and it's a lot of farmland. And then on this farmland, I challenge any of you to count how many cities there are in that peninsula, the Nile Peninsula, and the Nile River Valley. The amount of cities, and these cities are just like, they're walled cities. Like, they want to preserve that farmland. So everybody lives in these cities that just look like they are cramped as hell. And they are huge cities. Huge cities, but just walled in, so everybody's living on top of each other. Meanwhile, there's this vast farmland around them. And there's hundreds of thousands of these cities. I was just blown away. So let's get to the book. What is it about? It starts in 1984. The Courtney family saga is about the Courtney families. The Courtney family who, they're English. They settled in South Africa. They've adventured through Africa, the different branches of the family through the first 3 novels, which I've reviewed on the channel if you want to watch those. And so it's a saga of this family. It started in the year 1600 or something like that. Now in book 4 we're up to 1884, and we're dealing with the Courtneys in up northern Africa now, up in Egypt and the Sudan and stuff. And we start off with a Rebecca is our first character that we meet. She is the daughter of David Benbrock. And she kind of course, is, as in most of the Wilbur Smith books, she has many love interests. I'll just say that. There's, I will tell you that this is triggering. This book might be the most violent, savage book that I've ever read in the history of. I mean, the violence is just unrelentless. I was going to say unrelentless. I don't know if that's a word. Violence is relentless. This is the most unpolitically correct book you're ever going to... I mean, Wilbur Smith is talking about a part of Africa where there's religious factions that are at war with each other. And we know what those religious factions are. And they are brutal, and they brutalize each other, and they torture and kill and dismember and everything. And he writes about it, and he doesn't flinch away, because some religions on this planet, you can criticize their history. Other religions, you cannot. This guy don't give up. He criticizes all of them equally, and it leads to just a gripping read, because you're just horrified. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, if you don't like religious war where religions behave badly in all of the extremely worst ways, stay away from this book. Actually, I would reverse my advice. You probably should be the type of person that should read this book. If you're triggered by that, if you're overly sensitive to that, you should read this book and just grow up. Anyway, Ryder Courtney is another character. He is, of course, of our main family of the Courtneys. He's, of course, handsome. Everybody loves him. There's another character named Chinese Gordon. He is nicknamed Chinese Gordon for his prowess in the battles against China. He's an Englishman who's now in the battles in the Sudan. And then Captain Penrod Ballantine. Now, I like the introduction of Captain Penrod Ballantine in this book, because Penrod Ballantine is part of the Ballantine family, and Wilbur Smith wrote a whole series about the Ballantine family too. And this is the first book where they kind of converge, like this two storylines converge. He's a soldier and a swordsman. This is the Sudan. The decades of terrible rule and brutality by the ruling Egyptian, I don't know how to pronounce the name. It's Khedive, Khedive, Khedive. I don't know how that's pronounced. Anyway, in Cairo, he's in Cairo. He begins a bloody rebellion and a holy war. And a charismatic new leader called the Expected One. Like, if that isn't like prophetic or anything like that, hey, he's the Expected One. He's the prophesied hero that will be born, kind of like Randall, Thor, or Jon Snow. The Expected One has gathered a massive force of Arab soldiers to take siege of Khartoum, but the British forces, so we got a lot of things going. We got like a lot of different types of battles against like a love triangle of battles. The British forces need to intervene in this holy war between these African nations, basically to protect and preserve their own national interests. And also, though, as kind of a side quest for the British Army, is not only are they protecting their national interests, but they're also going to kind of rescue the hostages and things that are being taken, and a lot of the people that are kind of stranded in these cities that are laid under siege. And so Ryder Courtney, our main character, who's involved with Rebecca, and Rebecca is involved with Captain Penrod and Ryan Courtney. She can't decide. And so he's one of the ones trapped in one of the cities and that's under, it's just even Chinese Gordon, the British guy that's named Chinese Gordon. He's not even a good guy. Just know that if you do read the Wilbur Smith novels and you know that his work can be historically violent, I think he dialed up like he dialed it up like a lot in this one. Just be warned. Just be warned. And then read it anyway. Like I said, read it anyway. You'll learn a lot about the world if you just open your eyes and read a little bit. Not be so afraid That's the theme of this whole. This is going to be my theme of this review: is don't be afraid to read things that are hard to read. It's the only way you're going to. Anyway. So anyway. British trader and businessman Ryder Courtney is trapped in the capital city of Khartoum under the orders of the infamously iron-willed General Charles Gordon. Chinaman Gordon is what they call him. Chinese Gordon. It is here that he meets a skilled soldier and swordsman, Captain Bernard Ballantyne of the 110th, and the British consul, Mr. David Benbrook, and his super hot daughter. Well, he's got 3 super hot daughters. And rest assured, Bernard Cornwell does describe them. So if you don't like that, like I said, read the book anyway. Benbrook's 3 beautiful daughters, against the vivid, bloody backdrop of the Arabs' fierce and merciless siege, these 3 powerful men must fight to survive and fight for the love of their women. 10 out of 10. These Wilbur Smith books are great. Great books. I think everybody should just read this series. If they want to learn about African history, this is where to do it. This is what this author is going to give you African history in an entertaining story, where you're going to be gripping your seat in horror and adventure and all of that.